In this lecture, we're going to look at 7 words connected with law. And here are your 7 words: clause, comply, exempt, ratify, sanction, uphold, and violate. So here's the first word: clause. Clause. No, not this clause, not this clause, this clause. So a clause is a section of a legal document, maybe a paragraph of a legal document. So for example, he has a clause in his contract which entitles him to a percentage of the profits. The complaint alleged a breach of Clause 4 of the Code. This clause stipulates the health and welfare benefits of employees. So some common collocations: you have a clause in something. We can talk about a breach of a clause. A document contains a clause or includes a clause. And some synonyms: paragraph, article, section, and provision. Provision. And here's your next word: comply. Comply. If someone or something complies with an order or a set of rules, they do what is expected or required of those rules or laws. Even if they don't agree with them, they comply. So, for example, the commander said that the army would comply with the terms of the ceasefire. Some beaches have failed to comply with European directives on bathing water. You must fully comply with the requirements of the agreement. So you comply with something, such as laws or regulations, and you often have to fully comply, completely. So it's a verb, so complies, complying, complied, and compliance. Compliance is when you comply with something, you are in compliance with it. So some synonyms for comply: obey, adhere to, observe. And here's your next word: exempt. Exempt. So if someone or something is exempt from a particular rule or law or duty, they don't have to follow it, they don't have to do it, they are exempt from doing that thing, from following that rule. So for example, college students were exempt from military service, so they didn't have to join the army. Any income gained from this source is exempt from tax. You don't have to pay tax if it's from this source. Basic necessities such as children's clothing and food are exempt from sales tax. So we talk about things are exempt from, such as exempt from tax. Potentially exempt is another common collocation, as is currently exempt. So clothing, children's clothing, is currently exempt from sales tax. And some synonyms: not liable, immune, absolved, excused. And here's your next word: ratify. Ratify. So when national leaders or organisations ratify a treaty or an agreement, they make it official by giving their formal approval to it, usually by signing the agreement or by voting for it. So, for example, the parliaments of Australia and Indonesia have yet to ratify the treaty. Russia formally ratified the Kyoto Protocol on Thursday. The two companies formally ratified the merger. So you can ratify a treaty or an agreement. You can formally ratify something or officially ratify something. Ratify is a verb, so here are the usual forms for the verb. And ratification is the process of ratifying something. It's a noun. And some synonyms: approve, affirm, confirm, endorse, sign. Here's your next word then, sanction. Sanction. If someone in authority sanctions an action or a practice, they officially approve of it and they allow it to be done. And in this picture, the United Nations Security Council is sanctioning an action. So, for example, the President may now be ready to sanction the use of force, to give it official approval. He decided to sanction an increase in public borrowing. They argued that an invasion could only take place with the sanction of the United Nations. So here's the use of sanction as a noun. So you can sanction a law. You sanction the use of something. You sanction the use of military action, for example. You officially sanction something. You can legally sanction something. And it's a verb, as well as a noun, so sanction, sanctioning, sanctioned. And some synonyms for sanction: approve, authorise, allow, certify, ratify. And your next word, uphold. Uphold. If you uphold something, such as a law or a decision, then you support it and you maintain it. So if a court of law upholds a legal decision that's already been made, it decides that it was the correct decision. It maintains that law. In America, we have the Supreme Court. In the picture is the Supreme Court, which often upholds laws or legal decisions made by other courts. For example, our policy has been to uphold the law. The court upheld the judge's original decision. The judges unanimously upheld the appeal. So we often uphold the law, or uphold a ruling or a sentence, and you can unanimously uphold something if everybody decides to uphold the law. It's unanimous. And upholds, upholding. Upheld is the past form. Some synonyms: back as in maintain, as in support. Maintain, here's support again. Confirm, endorse, stand by. Here's your next word, violate. Violate. So if someone violates an agreement or a law, then they break it. They don't follow that particular law. So for example, they went to prison because they violated the law. They violated the ceasefire agreement. There are allegations of human rights violations. So you can violate the law, violate a rule. You can be in violation of something. Here, violation is a noun. So a violation of the law. So it's a verb and a noun. So it's a verb, violates, violating, violated. And violation is the noun, the process of violating something. And some synonyms: breach, break, disobey, contravene, disregard, infringe. So there are your 7 law words then: clause, comply, exempt, ratify, sanction, uphold and violate.